Hi guys, welcome.
Hey.
How you doing? I am the governor and I will be your moderator for this panel. We're going to have some people asking questions, but I actually have a question for Khary. Now it's my understanding at the end of the series you were not entirely pleased with the title that your particular character received.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Is there a reason why you don't like the title of governor?
You want to guess? I'll let you guess. How many governors in the apocalypse haven't gone absolutely batshit crazy? I was like, I got a feeling I'm gonna lose an eye. All kinds of bad things gonna happen to me. So yeah. I was like regent, mayor, anything, you know,
King.
librarian. I'll take anything other than governor, but I gotta live with it.
Well, I think it's a mighty fine title, personally.
I would think you would. You just the most Savannah-sounding governor I ever heard.
Thanks, I think. Woodbury is the melting pot.
Okay, there you
That's
go.
all I gotta say. And again, we have a line here, so please come on over. And we have our first question.
Hi guys. Khary, first off, I told you yesterday, I just wanted to say it again, I'm sure everyone in here agrees, you nailed the finale. I mean, there's so many shows that don't end well, and that finale nailed it.
I can only take a little credit for that. I didn't write it, but I think they did a good job.
And I will be at your table tomorrow with that shirt on that I know you love.
Exactly.
But my question is for Christine. Since you told me you've caught up, or you're caught up on The Walking Dead, what would Sherry think of Negan now, after his arc, where he kind of redeemed himself in most people's eyes?
I get this question a lot. And I'm not sure what you would think of him now. I think it's hard to accept him for who he is, but I think of the phrase, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. And that's what sort of comes to mind, where, she could forgive, but I don't think she'll ever forget.
But is he still an enemy?
I don't think she'll ever trust him. No. I couldn't
Screw
imagine
that
trusting
guy.
him.
Well, Ezekiel wasn't too pleased with Negan either. And, that was a great scene in that final season. But here's our next question.
Hi, this question is for Jenna. Just to start off by saying a lot of romantic arcs in horror things, they're okay. They're okay, but the Jude-John storyline just really grabbed me more than any other one through all the series. I mean, there was a lot of the shipping, particularly with Daryl, but the Jude-John one just really got to me, and I think it really has to do with your chemistry with Garrett, and it just really came off very well. Can you describe what it was like doing that arc, the beginning, and showing up in that camp, and how the two of you worked that? Because maybe you don't realize how strong that worked in the fan base.
Well, I certainly appreciate everyone's beautiful response to it. I think I became aware because you were also communicative in the most beautiful way about how it touched you, and I really am happy about that. When I had my first episode with Garrett, I didn't even know there was going to be a romantic storyline when I joined. I just knew, your character used to be a trauma nurse before the apocalypse, and she lost her daughter, and that's all I knew. No, I had no idea there was going to be a romantic anything until I got the script. And I was like, this is really cool. Okay. And I didn't even know, I knew it was like a flashback episode of what happened before. Anyway, Garrett and I there wasn't anything consciously done. It's just how we were together. That's just how we worked together. And the writing supported it, and he was, received me, and I received him, and I think it's just one of those things that happens, or it doesn't. But we didn't, or he maybe consciously, and I just responded. I don't know. It wasn't anything we even talked about. We just showed up on set and started working together, and it's just what happened, and it's just what consistently happened. So I think that's a blessing, you know, because you can't force that kind of chemistry. It's just what it is, you know. If it's there, it's cool.
That's so crazy to me because that first episode where Garrett came on, I mean that whole speech was about you, and everybody else, we're just waiting for you to show up, you know, and you didn't even know about it. It was perfect for the show because when you audition, they never tell you anything. You have no idea. I'm the only person who knew because they just changed my tiger to a lion named Nala when I auditioned, and I figured it out that it was a Zulu. But mine was, I think I was the only person who had any idea what their character was going to be.
We didn't know either.
Right.
We had no idea who we were.
So vulnerable.
I know.
You know, especially
just
like
show up.
when you care about what you're like you want to like give.
Yeah.
And when you have no idea you're in a vacuum, it's like awkward, huh?
That's awesome. Next question, yeah?
Hi. So I have a question for all of you. If you, in the main Walking Dead series, if you could have a scene with a past character or a character that entered after you left, like who would it be? Because I personally would love to see a conversation between Herschel and Negan, and then Abraham go toe to toe with me. So like, is there any, and how would your character react to that character?
I mean, I always say Glenn. Glenn was my favorite, and they killed him the night before I got on the show. It was like, hey, there's this really cool guy. You'd love to meet him. Yeah, he's dead. So that I would have loved. I also would have, you know, between Glenn and Abraham, honestly, both of the guys who died right before, they at least Michael was hanging out. Michael Cudlitz was hanging out on set. The episode later because I was trying to throw everybody off about who might have gotten killed. And so we got to hang out, and he kind of was the guy who introduced me. He was like, okay, this is what's about to happen. Everybody's about to lose their mind about you. You need to get your mind around what's going to happen. And but I got to like spend no time, you know, with Glenn. So that would have been nice. But, yeah.
I would love June and Carol to have some scenes together. I just feel like that would work well.
Yeah, that's good. That's good times.
I'm gonna have to say Rick. I mean, Andy Lincoln came up and introduced himself to us when we first got the job and we found out who we were playing, and I just think he's such a solid actor, but such a great leader in the community, and I think that he would be like a really good fit for our storyline. But yeah, I would have to go with Rick.
Yeah.
I'm bummed I never got to work with him.
Rest in peace, but I'd have to say Herschel. Yeah, to me, he was just like so soft-hearted, and I don't know, he was a really giving actor. And I got to hang out with him outside of the show a little bit, and he was just the coolest cat ever. So yeah, that'll be my choice.
They wanted to keep the storyline really secret, so they have me pull up in this van with like the windows are darkened out, and they have all these like big umbrellas that they're walking me under just in case anybody's on the street is kind of watching or filming, just to keep it secret that Sherry's coming back on the show and being reunited with Dwight. And Coleman was directing the episode, so it was like this really wonderful welcome back to meet old friends, new friends, and just be in a really wonderful environment. And it just felt so good to be back. And I think even that scene itself, this reunion with these two characters, it resonated for so many different reasons with all of the viewers, and it meant so much to me. And it just made me feel really good. But so it was that was, I think, definitely on screen and off screen, one of my favorite moments on the show.
I think my favorite moment or moments was we had to do a lot of horse riding on Fear the Walking Dead, and that was really nice. There's a sense of danger involved. I like that. Also, your energy has to be real centered the horse knows whether or not you're anxious or you're off or any of these just tiny little things. So I really enjoyed that. I thought that was
I
really fun.
love
great.
riding horses on the show.
Yeah,
They had kind of a dedicated stable. I don't know, did they have that in Austin?
We had it in Austin, yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't be riding a horse on the show for like months, and I'd just be there every day.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I loved it so much.
Yeah.
It was like, I mean, my ass killing me, but I had a great. I mean, you know that they would have horseback riding dedicated. You got to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was such a great time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was pretty special.
Yeah, it's great.
I was so jealous of you guys in season 7 because I got to do some horse work in season 6, and I was like, it's like my most favorite thing. I get so happy when there's any animal is around. I'm a happy person. And then I was like, ooh, in season 7. And then I was like in the tower with Strand, and they were out on horses like the whole time, and I was like, so jealous.
I wanted to adopt my horse so badly. I'm like, I don't know where I'm gonna put him, but I'll figure it out. His name was Bob. He was so great.
My horse was so mean.
No.
But I love it, but it was because he was so smart. And he was like, it was like, if you don't know what you're doing, then I'm gonna take over. And he was beautiful. He was all black and shiny, and it was like, and he taught me so much because, like you said, you can feel it, you know. And if you take your eye off the ball, he's like, I'm headed back to the barn whether you want to or not. And yeah, he taught me so much. But yeah, I didn't want that horse. That horse was crazy.
I go full mama bear protecting my family.
Yeah. Dude, I think I would act exactly like Ezekiel, because to mask the fact that I was scared out of my friggin' mind. You know, I think the way that I think that's what he was doing. I have this idea in my head that when Ezekiel started, he talked like that, and everybody kind of fell into line, and he was just like, I can't believe this is working. Should I keep going? Hello, everyone. I have a tiger. But just constantly, just thinking this is horrible. This is never gonna work. Yeah, so I think that's the way I'll go.
I love that scene with you and Carol when you're like in the front, the theater seats,
Oh yeah.
or whatever, and you're just like walking her through, like kind of fake it till you make it.
Exactly.
And she was just like really trying to like figure you out. And it was a great scene because it was sort of like seeing Ezekiel at his most vulnerable with her.
Yeah, that was great because I think he found somebody that he was like, you know what, I can't don't bullshit a bullshitter.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's one of my favorites, absolutely.
If you could play any other character, could have played any other character in the universe, which character would have you liked to play?
I got two. All right.
Yeah.
Eugene would be fun.
Yeah.
To say all of the crap that Eugene says. But truthfully, I'd want to be Michonne. Just for the sword, I want to be Michonne. You know what I mean? Yeah, every time she pulls it, because every time she does anything, it's in slow motion. It's just like if you cut off one head, she cuts off like 7. You know what I mean? And it just looks, she's in better shape than I am. She is just so badass. And then maybe they put me in Black Panther too. I don't know.
We can dream. Who else?
Princess looks like a really fun character.
Yes,
I
yes.
think I had a lot of fun with that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Maybe John Dory.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You're such a cowboy.
Sling those guns, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'd like.
She's like June. I would like to be June some more.
I love playing June so much. I don't know. I think a girl version of Daryl would be fun. Like what would that look like? I like to think about that. Then it's June. Yeah, sure. Yeah. All right.
There you go.
There you go.
Gerald.
All interesting choices. Said the governor. Okay. Here's the next question.
What was the most painful scene for each of you to film?
Physically or emotionally?
Both.
Like which one gave the biggest bruises and which one gave the biggest bruises?
There's a scene that we have coming up this season where the two of us just go ham so hard that I think like when they finally yelled cut, which felt like an eternity, the two of us have to like walk outside just to get some like fresh air. And I think at one point like my knees even gave out. Like I couldn't even.
What do you mean when you say ham?
Like just like buck wild, just emotionally.
Essentially, what we had to do
What do you mean when you say ham?
was.
I didn't know that was like being
Well,
funny, like we're hamming it up, or like
No,
drama.
it's
Heavy
It's like
emotion.
just.
We had to really do jazz hands.
a lot of jazz hands.
Yeah, it was just a super emotional scene that we had.
Well,
And
we
I-
had to. Well, we can explain a little bit.
Are
Of
we
it.
talking about the same scene?
Yeah,
Oh,
when we were
yeah.
outside.
No, we were
Oh.
inside.
Oh.
One in the train.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm
We have a
talking-
lot of very
okay.
emotional scenes, especially. Which one were you talking about?
I'm
The
talking
one
about.
outside.
There was one that we
Yeah, I
had
know
to
what you're
do.
talking about.
Where I was like, man, if they could teach this in an acting class, like I don't think anyone would want to be an actor. It was so hard. We had to fight a bunch of
Oh, that scene.
walkers,
Oh,
and then
man.
we were back to back, like arguing, like an explosive, like
Yeah.
blowout
Having
argument.
a couple's
And
argument in the
while
middle of.
while we're fighting walkers. But it's also real hard because when you're doing it on the day, you have to like hit so precisely on the stunt walkers that you have to be real careful. So it's like, I'd have to hit like right there and then right here and
And you can't be saying the line when your face is like down
Right,
on the camera,
right.
so you have to
So
like
much
be aware of
focus.
like the frame
Yeah.
and the stunt and
It was
the,
a lot.
It's a
It was
lot.
a lot.
But no, the scene I'm
It was
talking
like
about, which
this.
is so. I mean, there's so much emotion on this show, especially like God, every time. But it just doesn't. I think it gets harder and harder and harder.
Yeah.
The stakes definitely get higher. But I just remember this one day I couldn't even stand. Like they finally yelled cut, and like my knees buckled and gave out because I was just so emotionally exhausted. But yeah, that was
I love doing the physical stuff, so I never felt like it was hard doing the physical stuff. But there was one day that I was actually several days during that first season that I was on that we were having these standoffs in parking lots all the time, and so we're in Georgia in July. It's and there's just the pavement, and I'm standing there, and I've got like 4 layers of clothing on because the wig actually shaded me from the sun a little bit, but it was all of that, because it wasn't real leather, so it was like neoprene with like shit from Dick's Sporting Goods on top, this on and that, and so and one day I just started kind of seeing spots. I was just standing there, and I could just see it starting to spot up, and I kind of passed out a little bit, and I was like, it was just staying hydrated. That season was just so much. They actually got me one of these shirts that had tubes that
those
ran through
things
it.
do not work.
Yes,
they
they do.
They didn't work for me.
Oh man, that was the best massage I ever had.
You know why they didn't work? Because we were on the horse, and you have to plug it in.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I couldn't plug it in, so I was just wearing more layers.
Oh yeah, no. So I'm just standing there, and they put this thing on me, and then I started to feel a little woozy. I'm like, plug me in, guys, and they would drag over this cooler full of ice water, and they'd have a motor on it, and they'd hook a tube to it and just shoot this water up, and so I'd just be kind of sitting there, be like kind of exhausted, and then they shoot that water through, and I go, They're like, stop! I'm like, I'm sorry. Keep going till I tell you to stop. Yeah, so that was bad, and then it was real good. But yeah, the most emotional I was after Sheila died, and after all of my my army got decimated in the war, and I'm literally coming back to the kingdom, and there was this and the funny thing is they when they shot this first shot, it was from behind, so they could see the, see everybody's reaction first. And we had kind of gone through this whole thing and came back at the end to shoot this to shoot this scene. And I just thought about the fact that I was gonna have to tell all of these people that their brother or their father or their wife or sibling or something that they had all died. And I just gave this huge speech about how we wouldn't lose one person, that we would fight against all odds and we would win. And the first time they opened up those doors of the kingdom, and I looked and I saw the cool thing about the show is that all of those extras, those performers, they were with me that entire season before, and they were still there. And I saw a couple of familiar faces, and I just bawled. And I was just so thankful that they were shooting the back of my head, because it was the ugliest cry you'd ever see. I mean, it was just, snot running down my nose. And the thing is that by the time I got to the end of that take, I couldn't do it again. It was like, and so what you guys ended up seeing was kind of this catatonic, like the emotion had been drained out of me. It literally had. It come out of my nose and my eyes. And but it was so cathartic and it was so beautiful, because all of those extra performers, when I was done with that scene, they all just came over and kind of group hugged me, and it was just like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I'm okay, I'm sorry." But it was really just the most cathartic moment I've ever had on film, and actually all they saw was the back of my head, but it was amazing. Yeah.
My two most painful was both with John Dory. One was in season 4 in the Laura episode. There's this scene where I'm about to be engulfed, and he cares about me, and that's what makes him pull his guns back out, and he shoots all of them. But there was like all of these stunts with walkers, and I'm falling in ditches, and I had bruises like the worst, like giant, all down my legs, and that was pretty painful. And then emotionally was the scene where I have to like put him down, because we were about to film it the week that lockdown happened. And so we were in the middle of filming season 6, and lockdown happened, so we all went home. Then I had 6 months to think about that scene, which was kind of a blessing and a curse, because I didn't want to be thinking about it for 6 months during a pandemic. It was just like too many emotional things. But it also gave me time to really like reflect on all the ways it could be played, or how do I, and I wanted it to be romantic and intimate, and I think rather than just emotional, I wanted it to be like a romantic. It's the I don't know how else to describe that. So, but that was really hard emotionally to like when the time came and I'm actually doing it. I was like, oh my god, it's so final when you actually have to do that. So that was emotionally, on a couple levels, the most painful.
I think that was hard on all of us emotionally, so definitely.
On top of it, Garrett's like such a sweetheart. It's like you gotta shank that dude. Such a sweet. He was the job that I got before I got The Walking Dead was on Hand of God, which he was on, and I did an episode, and I got The Walking Dead while we were shooting that, and I remember just sitting with him at lunch and just being like, dude, I just got the biggest job of my life. And he was like, really? What is it? I was like, I wish I could tell you, man. And a couple of years later, he was like, dude, can you believe it? We're doing it again. It was awesome. Yeah. So what a cool connection.
Elect all the rats again, and then they let them out again. And like the worst part about it is like I was crawling, so I didn't want to like knee or elbow down on one, smash it. So that was interesting.
I'm so grossed out right now.
Oh man. I don't know what your answer is, but Austin wins. Austin wins.
That takes the cake.
Woo.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
We'll see you at the table tomorrow.